We are exactly what our history made us to be. We are exactly what our history made us to be. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Why? What does the quote mean? And make sure you answer thoroughly. And you can have your camera on, and you can be also like writing in your journal and like copying this quote and thinking about this quote. Again, I need to see you writing constantly today. Camera should be down. Your seesaw should show all of the work that you're doing in your journal. And we should be writing constantly and thinking constantly as we build onto this quote. We are exactly what our history made us to be. What does this quote mean to you? And how has your history impacted you? We are exactly what our history made us to be. So I want to thank everyone who's on Nearpod, everyone who's thinking about this quote. And then notice how question 2 says, how has your history impacted you? So it's like we kind of like, we're trying to have a personal connection with this quote. And your history very much has to do with your identity box, right? So like looking back at the identity box, what is your history? How has that impacted you? And some folks opened up in their identity box. Some folks, they're still scratching the surface about what that identity box is. All right. So I want to thank everyone who's logged on to Nearpod. Janara, do you want to explain your answer, please?
Well, for mine, I was just saying that when it says we are exactly our history made us to be, it makes me think about like how it's basically, to me, it means like our history, like what we did in our past is like who we are right now. And I would say my history has affected me because it helped me to change. And I don't agree with like saying our history made us to who we be, because our history doesn't define us. You can still change, whether what you did in the past was bad or good, you can change for the better.
All right, so kind of like make a note of that, please, because you can change her the better. Thank you for that, Janara. Give her some twinkles in the chat. And that very much is what this project is about. So when I say promise, like what's your sophomore promise? Like I'm talking about a change, right? So kind of like, well, what is the change that you want to make? You're promising to yourself that you're going to change. And guys, just a reminder, the link is always on Google Classroom, right? It's always there for you. All right, so your history is going to go ahead and it's going to impact you. Yes, we have to face our history, but we can promise to change. So let's just like give everyone else a second to have these answers roll in. We do need to keep moving forward. Again, be ready to have your journal open and be on camera with your laptops tilted down today as we make thinking maps. And we're going to keep adding on to those thinking maps. Also, shout out to everyone who already has their base layer for their mask done. If you have any sort of questions, let me know. You need to make sure that that your mask is taking the shape of the mold. So you, again, really pay attention to those videos on YouTube. Press down around the corners of the mask. Your mold should be 8 layers thick, and it should take the base. Okay, back to the question. I bring up the mask because some folks, guys, I'm looking at Seesaw and I'm like, that doesn't look right. So like, make sure you're following the videos and ask me any sort of questions. If I didn't comment on your Seesaw, you're good. All right, Lucia says, Lucia, do you want to read this quote? I can read it for you. What this quote means to me is that we are who we become. We are from generations back, so we get all sort of personalities from people back then. How history has impacted me is that I have actually learned a lot from back then, and the information that they teach us about history is very important, and it's good to learn about our history. It has impacted me because I am one person inside and another person outside of myself. Yeah, like facing, like, and that makes me think of the identity box. But I want you to think about your personal history. So again, so much of like the thinking that maps that we're working on in class has to do with our personal history. right? So like we're facing our own history and we're thinking about the problems that have impacted us. So look ahead to that objective, make sure you're on the deck and you're getting ready to go with your journals out. Our history is what has affected us. To me, it means our past kind of defines us. My history impacted me by making choices that got me where I am. Okay, I guess I would love for someone to unmute and talk about, like, do you have control over your destiny? Meaning, like, can you control the future? Right? So think back to what Janara said. She said she disagrees with this quote. So do you think your future is determined by your history, or do you have control? Can we promise to make a brighter future? Anyone can unmute? Can we promise to make a better future? So much has happened, but what? Like, let's open up. Points for Marilyn. I'm about to move on. Please hit submit. Looking for Anthony, Khalil, Jasmine. We expand on what we have learned from previous generations, and our history has influenced our choice-making decisions. Okay, anyone want to elaborate on what they're saying? Do you think you can make a brighter future? Please hit submit. I'm about to move on. Jenny says, our history has affected us. To me, it means our past kind of defines us. My history has impacted me by making choices that got me where I am. Okay. So like that brings me to this idea that you have control over your destiny. You do. You absolutely have control. So yes, our history, we are our history. But the most important history that you can make is now. Whoa! I repeat again, the most important history that you can make for yourself is right now. This quote means that history, past, has made us to be what we are today or what we want to be in the future, right? But just because, Zahir, like if you've had a bad history, and you're not saying this, but let's say you had like a bad history, all these things happen to you. Does that mean you have to have a bad future? So I'm asking anyone, Zahir or anyone, like, do we have to have a bad future if we had a bad history?
Not really.
And what can we do to control that?
We can control it ourselves, can't we? Because if we do nothing, then it'll just be the same. But
What
then,
are, go on.
but then if we could do something ourselves, it could change. It could possibly change because, if a bad person did everything bad and they decided they wanted to change into a good person, they can because, they could start helping people out with other things.
Be an upstander?
Yeah. Like like helping people find their way into new cities or new places they've never been in.
You know,
Or
go on, Zahir, go on. I love hearing you talk.
or just in general of where can I find this place specifically? Because there's always times that I'm always going somewhere and my dad just is not he doesn't know how to speak English, so I have to translate for him. And then when I tell him, he understands because I can explain them to him like decently because I'm not really good at Spanish. I'm still in a phase where I know how to speak it, but some of the words don't come out right.
So I feel like you are using your knowledge to kind of, you and your dad are coming out of a cave together and you're just working at growing, right?
Yeah, basically.
And you're working at like really having like a brighter future. And I think that's admirable. Can we give Zahir twinkles? Like all of you guys, everyone give yourself twinkles in the chat. 010101. You guys are awesome. And you guys are inspiring me. The fact that you're still here. Thank you, Jocelyn, for giving twinkles and still like trying and working hard. And the fact that you're going to make a promise during virtual learning makes you just so inspiring, right? So you really have to celebrate yourself. Your past is what you are now. You learn from yourself. Okay, but like, how has your history impacted you? I want you guys to still think as we move on to the lesson. If you haven't participated yet, you can write any sort of thoughts in the chat about what Zahir just said, or whether or not you believe that you can create a brighter future for yourself through this promise. So please keep participating. Can we take action to create a more positive future? Right? Like, can we write our future? And anyone can kind of like unmute. Like, do you agree with this quote? Like, so think about what Zahir's doing. Like the fact that Zahir today is helping his dad. Your future is created by what you do today. And Janara is saying like, our history doesn't, it's there, it's a seed, but it doesn't have to define us. So do you agree with this quote? Like, can we create a brighter future? Can we write our own history? Anyone can unmute themselves. I'm going to do wait time as I do attendance. Remember to say, someone going to unmute themselves. Adon, I would love to hear from you. Guys, the Nearpod is always here, and the deck is always on your Google Stream. So again, the question is, your future is created by what you do today. Can we take action to create a more positive future? So I'm sorry that it doesn't say, can we take action to create our own positive future? Can we write our own history? Can we make a better future for our family? Marilyn, do you want to unmute and discuss what you just said? Or anyone can unmute. Okay, I see some participation popping up.
Can I go again?
Yes, I would love you to. You're on fire. Go.
What was the question again?
So it's like, can we create, like, does what we do today impact our tomorrow?
I would say kind of.
Go on.
Because let's just say if you're like at, I don't know, some party or something, and like some family members or your cousins are over there too. If you're just gonna be right there just sitting down and doing nothing, then you're just gonna be probably known as one of the boring cousins. But because I usually just don't sit down and just like just sit down and not do anything during parties, I usually just like just get stuff from my mom or my dad, because when they eat, I'm pretty sure my dad just tells me, oh, get this specifically, because he forgot about it. Like, if he eats tacos, he's always gonna want lemon, something else with it. When he forgets about it, he always asks me. And then when I'm usually over there, I see a cousin, and they come up to me and talk to me. And then when I talk to them, it feels nice because you're actually interacting with someone. And then
Go on.
by that, I think it would be more positive for you to be chatting with someone instead of just being there like alone, just sitting down, not doing anything on your phone. Better instead of just doing nothing.
So I hear what you're saying. You're saying like kind of like people, you're looking around the world and people are kind of stuck on their phones, right? They're not doing too much with their lives, right? They're just kind of like stuck on their screens. But you're leaving the cave, you're furthering yourself by talking to people. And it's by talking to people and connecting to people that we can have a brighter future and a better life. That's sort of like where you're going. So you're like always getting up, you're helping people. And by then, by like talking and connecting, you're having a brighter future, right? So we have to talk, we have to be less shy. We have to put ourselves out there. So yes, you can. We can take action and turn it into something more positive, says Marilyn. You can take action to create a more positive future because you can always be cheerful to others, which is what Zahir was just saying. Anthony says, if you work hard, you can have a good future for yourself and your family. Yes. Yes, you can. Yes, we can take action to create a more positive future for ourselves and our family. But how? So like today and with the promise this week, we're thinking, what are the concrete things that you're going to promise to do to create a better future? Yes, I do agree with this quote. I agree because yes, anyone can create a more positive future if we all work together and speak together. All right, kind of like what Zahir was saying. We need to talk more. So please like write on this collaboration board, right? Put yourself out there. Talk on Seesaw, communicate, ask questions. Yes, I feel like I can. Doing small things, increasing every day, and you can have better things. Every day, I like how you said every day, Diego, about this idea of consistency. So speaking of every day, like going over the objective, you are going to do 2 thinking maps this week. They should be full like this. They should be full. You are doing one where you face your history, and you're doing one where you write promises and the causes of and effects of that promise. We're going to focus more on the left thinking map today. I need to see that posted to Seesaw at the end of class. I need you to have your cameras on and you need to be writing. Do not walk away. This right here is the foundation of you making a brighter future for yourself. You are going to face your history and you're going to make a brighter future for yourself. This is going to be the thesis of your mask project. Right? So in the chat right now, you're going to make two thinking maps that are going to help you to write your promise. And it's going to help you to get more ideas for your mask. So what I want you to do is in the chat using this deck, thank you, Anthony, for being on the deck. I want you to explain, Juan, don't worry about it, what it is that we're doing today. And you can watch this video. Notice how the students are using the thinking maps to write their mask. Write in the chat and on the collaboration board, explain what we're doing and why.
She finally did her work today. That's right, kid. Look at that.
Hey, Kimberly, was this helpful for you?
Yes.
Why was this helpful for you? Can you talk about that?
Because I was actually
That's right, kid. Speak up.
I was thinking. So yeah. I just let myself out in paper.
Cool. I love how everyone's using their thinking map to come up with ideas.
So I found other reasons they should stay. Wanted all my comfort and never felt my danger. Thought a price that high would drive you right away. And all along that I was lucky.
And you could do this in any order, right? You could work on the left column and then go to the middle and then go to the right. Or maybe you know what you want out of your future. Start at the right and then go back to the middle.
And I asked you to let me go. I never thought that this year, brother, I need better. And I think that I would rather be alone. Really, tell me all.
I want to thank everyone who's writing, who's transitioning to the outline, using different resources. On my way. See, some of you are editing the sentence frame so it makes more sense. Yes, you should write this in your facing history notebook. Yes. Shh. Please write it in your facing history notebook.
All right, guys. So thank you, Zahir, Marilyn, Jocelyn. I need you to explain in the chat what it is exactly that we're doing today, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you 2 helpful slides. Oh my God. I need you to, sorry guys, I have people calling for college letters of rec for seniors. I need you to, in the chat, explain what it is that we are doing. So there are 2 maps. First, we're going to do a brainstorm for the map. So you can look here on slide 8, right? We're going to do a brainstorm about all the things that may have happened in our history that may impact us. That is number 1 on slide 8. Then we're going to move on to facing our history. You're going to pick 3 social problems. How many? 3. How many? 3. You're going to pick 3 social problems that have impacted you in your history. And we are going to describe those problems. So in a circle map, we're describing. Yes, thank you for writing. Yeah, Diego's there, Jocelyn's there. You're going to describe how 3 things in your history, thank you, Janara, have impacted you. You're going to go into detail. And yes, you post this to see stop, but you scribble it out. I just want to see it for you. Like a social problem, like is an event in history that has impacted you, right? And we're going to brainstorm about those, right? So there is a video, check it out. There is a video for every activity in this deck. So you need to use them. Like we're going to think about, so like being a bystander, staying silent. That's a social problem. Corruption, racism. Like how have these things impacted you? So we're just going to brainstorm. You're going to pick 3 that have impacted you. Yes, we are brainstorming with each map. Very good. Thank Marilyn and Zahir are getting their points. Then your first thinking map, you're going to go ahead. You're going to pick 3 that have impacted you. You're going to describe how they describe. You are going to describe with these 3 maps in combination, how has your history impacted you? So like Zahir says, what are social problems? They're like these burdens that impact us, like family struggles, the economy, the jobs. So we're going to think about like poverty. How has fake beauty impacted you? You'll pick 3, right? And then you will write them in the middle and you will describe how these problems have impacted you. And then you're going to like realize, okay, what is the pattern? What am I noticing about myself? On top of your map, you will start to think about metaphors for your mask, right? And then we'll go ahead and we will brainstorm, we will draw, we will sketch our mask more. Because as we add on to the base of our mask, we want to have ideas for metaphors. Like how is it that we want to change? Okay, and then you can move on to your second thinking map if you want, where you're going to make a promise about how you want to change. Like how do you want to be better in the future? And there's a video in the deck for that for you too. What do you need to do to keep your promise? What are the impacts of your promise? So these are like really, really big critical assignments. I'm going to put this on YouTube, right? So you can like go through it again, but just know that in slide, like when I'm looking at the deck, in slide 8, you have a video for each of these maps. So you do step 1, step 2, step 3, right? So you face your history and then you determine your future. Okay? So I haven't heard from a lot of people today, just so you know. I haven't heard from, please explain in the chat what we're doing. Khalil, I don't know if you know what we're doing. Ryan, Louisa, Jose, Noah, Jasmine, Eva. I don't want to message your parents and say you were in class, but you didn't do anything. Anthony, do you know what we're doing? Martin, Alexandra, Marcos, Jalen, Lindsay, Adon, Esmeralda, Yordi, Devin. So what's the problem? That's more than half the class. So please write in the chat, explain that you know what we're doing today. Thank you, Jenny. Jenny says ABC chart first in order to do the thinking map. Thank you, Jenny. Right, you could see, you could follow like the agenda right there. Right, what are you noticing about thinking map B helps you to figure out your promise. So you could see map 1 is 3 circle maps. You're going to define your 3 problems, 3 things in your history that have impacted you. The frame of reference question on the outside is, what are you noticing about yourself? So we're looking for patterns in our history. So often like how history impacts us, it comes in waves. So like, what are you noticing about yourself? Do you worry a lot? Are you impacted by fake beauty? Do you stay silent? What are you noticing about, what do you need to change? So much of today, this is so important. As you add on to these maps this whole week during async time, because we won't be done with the maps today. As you build on, it's like, what are you noticing about yourself? What do you really need to change? And you need to be honest. You need to let the truth out. Do we do the chart in paper? Yes. All of this is in paper and this is on your notebook. Lindsay, that's a good start. Thinking map, but like what kind of thinking maps? I need you to look at the screen. I need you to look at the deck. I need you to look at the examples and understand the criteria of success. Like the thinking map needs, you need to open up. You need to share truth. You need to fill up the entire space. You need to describe. You need to write promises. I need more details in the chats from you guys. So yes, have your journal out. One great clarifying question. Yes, you follow the agenda. Yes, but what is in the agenda? I need you to read the agenda, guys. Like describe it in your own words. We have to do 3 thinking maps on the truth. Yes. Yes, but like, what are the questions asking you? Guys, I only see 2 of you on this deck. You should really, really use the resources that teachers give you, right? So here's the deck again. I want you to look through it. I want you to read it because you're going to keep working on this throughout academic prep and during async time, right? You're going to keep building on ABC chart and do the thinking map. But what are the thinking maps asking us? Reading what we are going to do. So you're doing that right now. Great. So I do give you points for asking clarifying questions. Just to be clear, I need to know that you're there and that you care. So now I see a bunch of you on the deck, right? So you can see Zahir, Marcos, Janara, and Anthony Alvarez. Okay, so Janara says, we are starting a sophomore promise. Yes, thank you for acknowledging that we're starting the sophomore promise this week. Because this is a complex lesson. And we are going to start by doing thinking maps. Yes. And the thinking maps will give you ideas for the mask. That's why I'm saying, like, just build the base of the mask and stop. Right? Draw pictures of the mask, but we're still planning our mask. We are going to define 3 social problems on 3 circle maps and write promises in a flow map. Oh my gosh. Mwah, mwah, Anthony. Chef kiss. So there's still a lot of you I haven't heard from today. I don't know if you're there. So I'm going to be texting your parents being like, they weren't here in class. Like, you need to, like, when you need to look at your teacher's decks, their communication boards, and really explain, like, what is it that we're doing? Are we going to post it to Seesaw? Yes. But you can, like, scribble out what you don't want to show. But I need to see thinking. Like, look, I need to see, like, a full flow map. Check it out. Like, see how full this is? Right? And then as you're writing stuff, as you're describing your history, I want you to highlight and think about metaphors that you might use. So there's so many, there's so much stuff. So look here, right? So you could see underneath the 3 circle maps, and then this art student put ideas for their mask on top. Okay? So makeup, broken, eyebrows, wrinkles, broken mirror, right? I'm reading the Post-its. So the ideas for the mask, it's all connected. I need to know you're with me, right? So like a message to parents when I text, maybe I'll just text this video to parents. There are a lot of students in class that don't respond to me, right? They don't have their cameras on. I don't know if they're there. This is what they're doing. They're really describing their history and things that have impacted them. And from that, they're deciding what their mask is going to look like. So maybe the students aren't there, but maybe the parents are with me. So like, make sure you're getting ideas. Make sure you do these masks. Make sure you go all of the way. Okay, so in a second, we're going to have our cameras on. All right, so there are video demos for the thinking map in here. So I'm going to give another second. Some people still haven't written in the chat what we're doing. So please make sure that we're doing in the chat. Okay, I need you to now have your cameras on, laptop tilted down, showing me that you're writing this ABC chart.
Hi guys, this is Miss Copera again. Back for another video. Today, we're gonna go ahead. We are going to
Cameras on. Thank you, Janara.
And brainstorm together. So this is my favorite exercise ever. I want you to, on the top of your visual journal, write social problems. And maybe you have this still in your book from earlier in the year. But it's really important that we review it because social problems is what masks are made of. If we know the social problems, then we know.
Thank you, Marcos.
How to stop
Thank you,
them.
Marilyn. Thank you,
so make
Jocelyn.
that ABC chart. Sing with me. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L.
Points for Janara.
Are you doing it?
Points for Jocelyn. Points for Marilyn. Points for Marcos.
WX. Take your camera off. Show me that you're brainstorming. So,
tilt your laptop down so I can
students,
see.
That masks are made of. What are those bad
Thank
human
you, Jocelyn, for
behaviors
tilting
that
down.
we need to identify?
Should have your book out. Don't make an excuse. Get up. Do your work.
Are the social problems?
Thank you, Jasmine,
Let's
for
go
having
ahead.
your camera
Let's
on.
think
Keep
about
it on. You're writing the whole time.
Zoom out. Think about all the problems in our world. Type them in the chat box, and we'll add them together. See what I miss? Well, let's start with the cave and history. Humans choose.
Thank you, Marcos, for writing.
To be blind. Humans choose to stay silent.
Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Marilyn, for writing.
Humans become bystanders, and we let the world suffer. This, in turn, leads to corruption. Humans begin to lie. Lies lead to corruption. Why does this happen so often? Because humans are hungry for power. They use things like racism to keep power. That's what Hitler did to the Jews. Other problems. Well, because of all the silence, depression happens. A lot of humans go through pain. There's trauma. Trauma is pain or a wound. Why do humans hurt each other? Why do we choose not to like ourselves?
Thank you, Marilyn.
We have things like self-hatred. Where does that come from?
Thank you, Zahir.
Lies.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Marcos.
Lies.
Thank you, Janara. Thank you, Diego.
From the media.
Diego. Zahir.
The media wants power. So we create things like fake expectations about beauty, fake beauty.
Thank you, Lindsay, for having your camera
We
on.
create these messed up standards.
Thank you, Janara.
You
Thank
need to look a
Marcos.
certain way. You need to act a certain way.
Thank you,
We
Marilyn.
encourage something called
Thank you,
conformity,
Jasmine. Thank you, Jenny.
where we,
Thank you, Jocelyn.
as conformists, choose to be followers. Like Hitler, everyone needed to have blonde hair and blue eyes. We needed to follow the dictators. So it's kind of this fake promise. If you listen to me and stay in the cave, you will be happy. But it's not real happiness. This happiness is a lie. So these are just some of the problems in society that I'm thinking about. But if you're ever wondering why humans are angry or why humans feel indifferent.
All right, guys. So a lot of folks still don't have their camera on. So I'm going to slow down for a second to just make sure we have a chance to talk as a class. Because just so everyone knows, thinking maps are an opportunity to have a discussion. And I'm using right now my iPad to kind of like facilitate with the thinking maps. Please keep your cameras on tilted down, right? And again, this is gonna be on YouTube, but I am giving you points for doing it now. So as I catch up with you guys, and we're thinking about our history, A, B, C, D, E, F. What's next? G, H, I. Anyone want to say the alphabet with me? G, K. What comes after L? No one knows their alphabet? Come on, guys. This gives some people a chance to catch up. Come on, get those cameras on. So right now in class, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 10th graders with their cameras on. 9. Okay, so what are some things that may have happened in history? Now, this is all of us as a class that may have impacted us. Just kind of like unmute and say them, or say them in the chat. I am doing some, but I'm waiting for you guys to chime in. I would love for you to kind of like start pouring. What do we say? Like, what are some family, thank you, Zahir, some problems, some things in our history that impact us today? What are the burdens that we carry on our back? You know, what are some things? Because we've done this exercise before, but it's probably changed because you're learning more in your history classes. So what about like beauty, fake beauty, and society's standards? And racism is always in the media, right? Social media impacts us. and what we see on the screen. COVID is part of our history. It's part of our now and it's part of our history. So how does that impact us? How does the economy impact us? I know for me, growing, I can't write, up. So you can get personal right here. Without a mom, single parent family, big impact. So you may not write some of the personal stuff I'm writing. So anyone, like, unmute yourself. Like, what are things that impact people that they take with them into the future? What am I missing? Drama being problematic. So can you elaborate? So family drama, problems, addiction, right? So like if there's like addiction, if there's been a death that impacts us, any kind of loss impacts us, we carry that with us. What else has impacted us? Okay, I love seeing Janara's ABC chart and she's adding on. Maybe we've been bullied. Maybe we've been a bystander. Okay, yeah, here we got some ideas. Judgment from others. So Lucia says judgment. Okay, I'm looking for more participation, like money issues. For me, like anxiety and worrying. Maybe events have happened, like things, like sad things. Trauma. The word trauma in Greek means wound. Think about how the war can impact people. Stress, right? And then what I want you to do is being alone. Yes, alone. So we're facing our history, loneliness. So thinking like, well, what is it that I want to leave behind? Right? So directing this more to like our math projects and our art projects, like what is it that keeps a mask on me? Depression. Like, what is it that keeps me in the cave? What is it that keeps me like ignorant? Or I've been thinking a lot about how in COVID and during distance learning, we feel stuck, right? We just feel stuck. Like we feel weak. So where does that weakness come from? We feel tired. We feel exhausted. Anyone else? Things like holding us back, holding us down. Love, yes. Thank you, Juan. I'm going to give you some participation points for that one. Like love is like part of our history. Loyalty. Thank you, Juan. So like sometimes we feel like loyalty to our family or like responsibility. We have so many responsibilities. You guys have so many responsibilities during COVID. So many. It's like crazy. Work. Grief. Yes. Thank you, Diego. We need to face the grief. We need to face our grief. And that is part of our history. Our grief, our broken places, that's who we are. Maybe we've been a bystander. Maybe we've chosen to be blind. Reality. Yes. Reality. And that makes me think of this idea of truth. Truth. Insecurities. Thank you, Khalil. Let me give you some points. So much of that comes from like fake beauty standards, but like insecurity, like feeling like we're not good enough. And we want to leave that behind, right? So that comes from like self-hatred, like hating ourselves. We want to promise to love ourselves. Like we want to promise to accept ourselves, but we don't feel like we can. Right? So keep adding on. Please write in the chat if I missed something or unmute because I may have missed something. I want you to now highlight anything, and maybe you're circling, right? Maybe you don't have your highlighter right next to you. It helps that I could see so many of you on your camera. Maybe you're circling in another color or something, or just circling things that have impacted you. Like maybe grief has really impacted you today. Thank you, Jenny, for catching up. Like it's not too late to put your camera on, guys. Maybe insecurity impacts you, right? So you're not circling what I'm circling. Problems, right? Struggles. So say here, like kind of circle anything that is in your history. So again, this is problems that impact humans, right? So this is our history as a class. Okay, so keep circling, go through, circle things that impact you. Maybe at times you feel weak. Maybe society's standards lead you to feel insecure. And you'll notice that some of them will start talking to each other, right? Like society's standards and insecurity, they kind of relate, right? Or maybe you're thinking like self-hatred and beauty, like beauty standards impact you. Maybe you feel very alone and that leads you to feel depressed. Maybe there's a death that's happened that you haven't talked to anyone about, right? A death and a loss. So go through and I want you to highlight and mark the things that have impacted you. Maybe at times you've been a bystander. Maybe you used to be a bully. Maybe you have been victimized. Maybe you were a victim in middle school. Okay, I want to thank everyone who's marking their ABC chart. Thank you, Janara. Thank you, Zahir. Thank you, Marcos. Problems, struggles. That one's a big one for me. Right, so you could get personal. You know, like if you grew up without a dad, add it. That's a big deal. If you grew up with money problems or insecurities, that's a big deal. If you fell in love and you lost that love, that is a big deal. If you're really loyal to your family, but sometimes that can weigh on your shoulders, that's a big deal. Society standards, if that impacts you. Maybe you've been victimized. Maybe you haven't faced the truth. Maybe you're blind and you don't like facing your truth. Maybe you ignore the truth. Maybe that leads you to be shy or to be silent. Take a few more minutes, highlight, add on. It's really great to see Jasmine adding on. Okay, really facing your history. And again, like think about that identity box. Like maybe there's a person that's been really important to you. Like I know that like the struggles with my dad and the fights with my dad and the love with my dad has been there for me. But that's like a relationship. I don't like fighting with him, but that is a history that impacts me. I worry a lot about people in my family, right? So maybe you want to write down names of people. Our people are our history. Our memories are our history. You want to get as personal as you can. When my mom left. And maybe that is a whole thing. So maybe you want to get into memories, but keep highlighting. Okay, I want to thank everyone who's writing. Jasmine, Jenny. So this takes time. Give yourself time. And I could see Marilyn has started her circle maps. That's awesome. You could do more than 3, but you want them all on the same page. You want to be like, you want to pick a lot. And I want you to go ahead and pick your top 3. So go ahead and number them. And I know this is getting, teacher, remove the camera. What? Teacher, remove the camera. Sorry, I'm catching up on the chat. Oh, okay. Thank you for letting me know, Marcos. Okay, so maybe you want to do one about family struggles. Maybe you want to do one about like insecurities and society standards, so that maybe that would too. So we're going to pick our 3. Maybe you do another one about not facing the truth or too much responsibility. It's up to you. You're going to pick your top 3. And again, this gets like, can get personal. Stop, post it to Seesaw. Right? You could post a screenshot to Seesaw, or again, you're writing in your journal, so you're going to take a snap. Dun, dun, dun. Because if I look and I see in a second that you've posted it, I know you've been with me this whole time. Okay, so that is on our Seesaw. I just put that on our Seesaw. But you can go ahead, you can take a picture, you keep adding on. And now we're going to go on to those circle maps. Okay, so it's really great to see everyone continuing to write. I'm going to transition back from the iPad now to the laptop. And it looks like I got signed out. Thank you everyone for staying with me. Now again, for this part of the lesson, we're going to describe our history. We're going to describe our history in detail. We're going to explain in detail how these problems have impacted us. Just a reminder, in the deck, there are tons of examples. So if you could look past AJ, our students have done fake beauty, meaning like beauty, society standards of beauty, have impacted how they feel about themselves, personal struggles, also the danger of staying silent. On the outside, you're going to write, well, what are you noticing about yourself? I'm noticing about myself that I am in the cave. I don't express. So the outside, you're going to explain what you're noticing about yourself. So you may write in one circle map, then another, and go back and forth. And then you may start to answer that question on the outside. What are you knowing about yourself? You could see all of the common ones. Leaving ignorance, ignorance being in the cap, not taking action. That didn't come up on our ABC chart. And then when you're done, you can go ahead, you could add metaphors that on top with the Post-its I gave you and getting ideas for that mask. Okay? So here's a video demo of thinking map A. I need to see everyone with their cameras on and writing. And again, I'm going to give you checks.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming back. Thanks for continuing to stay in class, it means a lot. Since the last video, thank you everyone who wrote in the chat box. We made additions. These are social problems. These are what masks are made of. It is a human behavior to wear a mask, but we can choose, once again, to take off that mask and leave the cave.
Okay, thank you everyone who's starting their circle maps.
We've added several things.
So guys, you can see in my video demos, there are different problems, and in the different colors, people are adding different things. Some things that we haven't come up with: lies, lack of honesty, missing people, overthinking, pretending everything's okay, right? Again, insecurities, self-hatred. So I'm just like zooming in and I'm showing you like different things that may come up. Again, you are adding onto these maps throughout the week, throughout async days, and you're getting ideas for your mask project, like where you're gonna do, like doing nothing. So I could see a lot of you with your cameras on, but from there, you're gonna pick your top 3, and I'm just scrubbing forward in these demo videos, scrubbing, fake beauty, and you see people are highlighting the important ones. Okay, when you make your circle maps, they do not need to be perfect. Okay, they can be messy, but pick, everyone, let me see you picking your 3 most important 3 events in your history, 3 problems that have impacted you, whether it's a person or a memory or like an issue or something as broad as like fake beauty, staying silent, but 3 things that have really impacted you 3 things that have built your mask, whether it's fear, rejection, and I want you to start working. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just give shout outs to everyone who has their camera on. Positive praise and shout outs. So thank you, Diego, for keeping your camera on. Okay, it's not too late to turn your camera on and do your work, guys. It is not too late. It's never too late. Thank you, Jasmine, for having your camera on and doing your work. So again, this isn't to like make you embarrassed. You just need to be writing live in class, guys. Right? Thinking maps, you need to do them. They need to be thought out. Right? So again, you are describing, meaning you're really showing with details how these problems have impacted you. Points for Janara for having your camera on. Thank you, Jenny, for having your camera on. Thank you, Jocelyn, for having your camera on. Thank you, Lindsay, for having your camera on. Thank you, Marcos, for having your camera on. Okay, so as we write, I'm not going to talk too much about what I'm writing because that's like me, right? So I'm modeling being vulnerable, but your history is your history. So you're going to describe how things have impacted you. And again, don't worry about censoring this. You can just scribble it out. But as long as I see you writing, it's good. So some of you I see writing, some of you aren't. I see some of you sharpening your pencils. Right? Thank you for, again, we're tilting the laptop down. I don't need to see your face. I want to see you thinking. Writing is thinking. Right? We're motivating ourselves to write and think with thinking maps. And thinking maps are a powerful tool. I have students that are stuck in the cave, but then they do a thinking map and it's awesome. Because we're less worried about it being perfect. They're supposed to be messy. Okay, Lindsay Rosales, Marcos Rodriguez, Marilyn, shout out for having your camera on. Okay, guys. Adon, I don't know if you're there, sweetie. Alexandra, not sure. Anthony Alvarez, are you guys doing these maps right now? Alexandra, I'll read your post in Nearpod right now. Okay, so again, we are describing how things in the past have impacted us. So I see some of you are kind of like just staring at the video. Remember, the point is to write. This is why I need you to have your cameras on. I need to make sure you're doing. So you pick your things you should be writing right now. Now, some people, it looks like some people have done their maps in advance, which is awesome, but you can add on. Or you could skip ahead to the next map and just think like, well, what are you noticing about yourself? Really describe in detail what you're noticing about yourself. Hey, I see some people who stopped, added on. Some folks went away from their work, right? This is good. This is why you need to have your cameras on, so I can remind you, go back to your work and keep adding on. Alexandra, I like what you wrote. Alexandra writes on Nearpod, we could take action to a more positive future for ourselves and our family by being happy no matter what. Now that's easier said than done, right? Like our mask is constructed by things that have happened to us, right? So it's like face the history, the good and the bad, right? I would argue like that we need to like acknowledge if we're sad, and by acknowledging our insecurities and by facing our sadness, then we are becoming truly happy. Because there's a difference between being in the cave and being happy, right? And having our mask on and being like, everything's okay, and being really happy. I would argue that true happiness comes when you face your history and you describe your history. Because we are strong at the broken places, guys. And what you do today is your history, will have the most positive impact in your history. So tell your story in these maps. You're really describing your life, because overcoming obstacles, overcoming social problems, that is a beautiful thing. It really is a beautiful thing. Alexandra writes, we all are writing our own story in life, because with every choice we make, we are making a new page in the book we are writing in life. Alexandra, I think that's beautiful. Right? So this right now, like why do I give you a sketchbook? Why is it important to have a sketchbook? Because you're kind of like, this is your life. And by choosing to pick up a pen, you are choosing to take action. You are choosing to leave the cave. So keep going, keep adding on. A great sentence starter is, this impacted me because. So if you're stuck, right, this impacted me because. Oh, say, Diego, I just saw your post. Yes, some can be positive. Yes. Yes, some can be positive. Because we want our mass to be joyful too.
Keep going, guys. If this is just a start, you should really fill things up. On the outside, so where we are right now, what we've done so far is we went ahead, just to recap, within these circle maps, we described how 3 social problems, how they impacted us. This is you. I'm trying to find a color I like. This is you facing the past.
And it can be positive.
Right here. This is the past. And maybe it's still going on. Maybe it's going to happen for a long time. But describing how these things have impacted you and writing about it, see the examples, this is the first step. So outside, for a frame of reference question, I want you to think about the following. Outside of your circle map.
Okay, write this frame of reference.
Ask yourself this question. What are you learning about yourself, or what are you noticing about yourself? Because we do art and drama to learn truth and to learn about ourselves. What are you noticing about yourself? What are you learning? What are the patterns that you're seeing?
Okay, guys. So for your final thought on Nearpod, describe any final thoughts. And I would love it. Like, I'm fine if you don't. I am more than fine, just to be clear, if you don't write on Nearpod. I would much rather you unmute yourself. But can anyone share like what they're learning about themselves or any sort of final thoughts? You could see that the lesson is continuing to go on my end. I am writing on the outside of the map what I'm learning about myself and how I need to change. Like, what are your next steps as a person? Like, what are you learning about yourself? Anyone? Diego says he's realizing the truth in me. Nice. His next steps are to add on. Yeah, someone was going to unmute themselves. Go on.
Me. I would say like now I'm starting to realize like there's a lot of stuff about me that I don't really look into, and like there's stuff I want to change about me, like mentally wise, not physically, but like mentally change, to better myself.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Twinkles, anyone else? What are you noticing about yourself? So there's a lot of stuff, Janara, would you say that we don't put in our identity box at first?
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff I didn't put in my identity box because like there's still stuff I want to keep quote unquote hidden, and like I feel like now it's just like there's no point because you're gonna have to express yourself there or another.
Right, there's no, and it's unfair to the world that you keep things hidden, and it's unfair to you, right? You're in the cave. Are you really living your life? And now that you know, Janara, you've done these circle maps, you know that there's more, right? So I want you to continue to think about noticing yourself, noticing patterns, noticing what you're hiding. Think about what you didn't put in your identity box. This is a process. Facing yourself is a process. All of these lessons lead to, as we build our promise, we're going to keep building our math. So tomorrow during async day, I want everyone to continue to add on to these maps, add on to their flow map. Okay? Before we build onto the mask more. So before you really start to construct your mask, I really want you to go deep with these thinking maps, add on. Please post them to Seesaw. And I will give you a grade for posting them today, and then I will give you another grade for posting updates. You could just edit and scribble out, but I need to know that everyone is facing themselves and creating authentic art pieces. Okay? So there's a difference between doing school and actually doing school. Real education is when you leave the cave and you face yourself. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your participation. The exit slip I'll leave open for a few minutes. There are videos in this deck that are on your screen that have everything you need to build onto the second thinking map for tomorrow during async days. You could stay tuned for updates about how to add on to your mask and how to continue to plan for your mask. Thank you, everyone. Namaste. May you be happy and healthy. May you love others freely. Please write in the exit slip. Thank you for having your cameras on. Namaste.